I sit at my desk, the glow of my computer screen the only light in the otherwise dark room. It's late, well past midnight, and I know Serafina is already asleep, waiting for me. She's always been like that, patient, understanding. But tonight, I can't bring myself to walk down the hallway to our bedroom. The silence between us has become deafening. When we first met, there was something electrifying about our connection. Serafina had this gentle aura about her, graceful, kind, and infinitely patient. I had always admired her quiet strength. But somewhere along the way, I lost touch with her. Or perhaps it was myself I lost. The office has become my second home. The meetings, the late nights, the endless calls, work consumes me. And each time I finish one project, there's always another waiting to be tackled. A never-ending cycle of deadlines, responsibilities, and achievements. On the surface, everything is perfect. I'm the man who's got it all, a successful career, a beautiful wife, 2 children who adore me. Yet beneath this facade, there's an emptiness I can't seem to shake. I remember when Serafina used to smile at me when I came home, her eyes lighting up like the world was right. But now, all I see when I walk through the door is a faint trace of disappointment, hidden behind polite words and the soft rustling of children's laughter. The warmth in her eyes, once so abundant, is now only a distant memory. I want to blame the demands of my job. I want to say that if I were home more often, if I were able to spend more time with her, we could find our way back to how things used to be. But the truth is, I don't know if I could even find that version of her again. Or worse, if I could find the version of myself that she fell in love with. Lately, it feels as though we're living separate lives, 2 strangers passing in the halls, sharing nothing more than a bed and a shared history. There are moments when I catch her gaze, and for a fleeting second, I see the woman I once adored. But it's gone before I can reach for it, like smoke slipping through my fingers. I've tried to bridge the gap. I've told myself that tomorrow will be different, that I'll be more present, more attentive. But tomorrow comes. And I'm distracted again, lost in a sea of work and unspoken words. Tonight, as I finish another report, I hear the faint sound of Serafina's soft breathing through the walls. The children are likely asleep as well, their small forms tucked into their beds, their little hands clutching the stuffed animals I bought for them. They're innocent to the growing tension in our home, unaware of the distance forming between their parents. I stand up and stretch, my back aching from hours hunched over my laptop. I walk to the window, looking out over the city skyline, the lights twinkling like distant stars. The world feels so far away, so much larger than the confines of this house. And yet, this house, this family, is everything I've worked for. But it doesn't feel like enough. I'm not sure when it started, this feeling of loneliness. Maybe it was gradual. A slow erosion, the kind you don't notice until the damage is already done. But lately, the loneliness is suffocating. It's like I'm drowning in a sea of success and still yearning for something I can't name. I look at my phone, a single message blinking on the screen. It's from Alessandra. Are you still awake? Her name flashes across the screen, and for a brief moment, the emptiness in my chest seems to ease. Alessandra is different, unlike Serafina. She's lively, confident, and full of energy. She doesn't need anything from me but my time. And I've found myself craving that attention. The kind that Serafina used to give me, before we became 2 strangers in a shared home. I type a quick reply, then put the phone down, staring at the ceiling. What am I doing? I can't even look at my wife anymore without feeling guilty. But when I'm with Alessandra, I don't feel guilty. I feel seen. I feel wanted. And for someone like me, someone who's been lost in the world of his own making for so long, that feeling is intoxicating. I turn back to my desk, the flashing cursor on the blank page mocking me. The world expects me to have all the answers, to be the perfect husband, the perfect father, the perfect man. But I don't even know who I am anymore. I'm a man drifting, caught between the life I've built and the life I'm slowly tearing apart. With a sigh, I push the chair back and walk down the hall, toward the room where Serafina sleeps. I know she'll be waiting. She always is. But tonight, I'm not sure if I'm ready to face the reality of what we've become. I quietly open the door to our bedroom, the faintest of light spilling in from the hallway. She's lying there, turned away from me, her breathing slow and steady. I stand there for a moment, watching her. She's beautiful, even now, even when everything between us feels broken. I slide into bed beside her, careful not to disturb her, but even in the stillness, the silence between us feels heavier than ever. The distance between us is like an ocean, and no matter how hard I try to bridge it, the gap only grows wider. Maybe tomorrow, I'll try harder. But tonight, I'm just tired. It's hard to remember the last time I truly enjoyed a night out. Most evenings are spent in dimly lit boardrooms or conference calls across time zones. But tonight was different. The company was hosting an event at a high-end venue downtown, and for once, I wasn't locked in an office. It was a chance to step away, breathe, and pretend I wasn't a man spiraling through his own life. The venue was sleek, the kind of place you only visit if you're in the right circles. The chandeliers above shimmered like stars, and the scent of expensive wine and freshly mixed cocktails hung in the air. The low murmur of voices and clinking glasses created a buzz that drowned out all the noise I had left behind at home. For a moment, I forgot about the rift with Serafina, about the ache of an empty bed and an even emptier marriage. I knew some people at the party. Faces I had seen in meetings or at industry events, all laughing, smiling, pretending that their lives were exactly what they appeared to be on the surface. But then, I saw her. She was standing by the bar, her back turned to me, the dim light highlighting the sharp angles of her silhouette. She was talking to a colleague, but even from across the room, I could sense her presence. There was something magnetic about her. A kind of quiet confidence, like she didn't need anyone's approval to be exactly who she was. Her name, I later learned, was Alessandra Vane. She turned and caught my gaze, and for a split second, I felt like the air had shifted. I hadn't been looked at like that in a long time. It was the kind of glance that made you feel like you mattered, that you were important in someone's eyes. She smiled at me, a knowing smile, the kind that was half invitation, half challenge. "Mr. Hawke, I believe," she said, her voice smooth as silk. "I didn't expect to see you here tonight." I was taken aback for a moment. I didn't remember her from any prior meetings or events, but that didn't seem to matter to her. Her eyes were unwavering, confident, as if she already knew exactly who I was. "I'm here for the same reason as everyone else," I said, trying to shake off the feeling of being caught off guard. A little break from the usual grind. "Ah, yes. The grind." She nodded, almost knowingly. "A man like you must be used to it." I shrugged, unsure of how to answer, but the truth was, the grind had started to feel less like a necessity and more like an escape. An escape from my responsibilities. An escape from everything I had left behind at home. Alessandra was charming in a way that felt effortless. She didn't ask questions. She didn't seek validation. She simply existed in the moment, and somehow, that was exactly what I needed. She wasn't the woman I came here to meet, she wasn't the wife waiting at home with our children. She was something new, an adventure that promised no strings, no complications. We talked, and the more we did, the more I found myself drawn to her. I laughed more in those brief moments with Alessandra than I had in months with Serafina. It wasn't that I didn't love my wife. It wasn't that I didn't care. But with Alessandra, everything felt lighter, less heavy. She made me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in so long. At some point, I lost track of time. The drinks kept flowing, and the conversations drifted from work to more personal matters. We spoke about travels, about our childhoods, about what we wanted out of life. And with every passing minute, I felt a sense of freedom I hadn't realized I was missing. She didn't need me to be a perfect husband, a perfect father, or even a perfect man. She just needed me to be present, and for once, I was. "You're not what I expected," Alessandra said, her smile teasing as she took a sip of her wine. "You're more interesting than most of the men I meet at these things." I raised an eyebrow. "Is that a compliment?" "Maybe." She shrugged playfully. "I like a challenge." It was then that I felt it, the moment when things shifted, when I knew there was no going back. She leaned in slightly, her eyes locked onto mine, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like I was pretending. I wasn't playing the role of the successful husband, the proud father, the dedicated professional. I was just Liam. And she was just Alessandra. No expectations, no obligations. The evening ended. With a promise to meet again, no strings attached. The flirtation had been subtle, yet undeniably powerful. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just the chemistry between us. It was the escape I craved. The chance to be someone else, to feel wanted again, to be seen. To not just be a name on a business card, a man who provides and performs. On my way home that night, my mind raced. I couldn't stop thinking about Alessandra, the way she looked at me, the way she made me feel like I mattered. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw the light in our bedroom window. I knew Serafina was waiting, and for a moment, I almost felt guilty. But that guilt was fleeting, as I realized the last time I'd felt truly alive was in Alessandra's presence. I slipped inside the house as quietly as I could. Serafina was asleep, the covers pulled tight around her. She looked peaceful, her face relaxed in a way I hadn't seen in a while. I stood there for a moment, watching her sleep, but the warmth I once felt wasn't there anymore. Instead, it was the silence, the void that felt louder than any argument, any conversation. I sat on the edge of the bed, careful not to disturb her, but the thoughts of Alessandra lingered in my mind. A temptation I hadn't known I wanted until it was already too late. The days blur into one another, the rhythm of my life now a repetitive cycle of work, stolen moments with Alessandra, and increasingly empty nights at home with Serafina. Every time I step into the house, I feel the weight of the silence, the unspoken words hanging in the air like a thick fog. And every time I leave it, my heart feels lighter, freer, at least for a moment. But that's the problem, isn't it? The moments with Alessandra are just that, moments. And every fleeting second with her is another minute lost to the reality I've been avoiding. This morning, when I woke up, Serafina was already out of bed, likely getting the children ready for school. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that reminds you of all the things you're not saying, all the things you're not doing. I didn't know where to start, or if I should start at all. Every glance I exchanged with her felt like a reminder of everything I had failed to be. I don't know when it happened, when we started drifting apart. The days spent together once felt so natural, so easy. But now, when I reach out for her hand, it's almost like reaching for a stranger. Her touch, once a source of comfort, now feels cold, distant. I know she can feel it too. The silence between us isn't just the absence of conversation, it's the absence of everything we used to be. The children are at school, and for a brief moment, the house is ours again. I sit down at the kitchen table, watching her move around the room, fixing breakfast. She's still beautiful, still the woman I promised to love forever. But the connection we once had is slipping through my fingers, and I don't know how to stop it. "Liam," she says, her voice breaking the quiet. "We need to talk." I freeze, my heart skipping a beat. There's a heaviness in her tone, something in her eyes that I can't ignore. I've seen it before, the look of someone who's been holding something in for far too long. She sets the coffee cup down in front of me, her hands trembling slightly. It's subtle, but I see it. She's nervous. She's afraid. And suddenly, I'm afraid too. You've been distant, she says, sitting across from me. More than usual. You're not here, Liam. Not really. You're somewhere else. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I want to lie, to tell her that everything is fine, that I'm just busy with work. But I know better. She can see through me. She's always been able to. I'm just tired, I say, my voice strained. It's the same excuse I've used too many times before. But it's starting to sound hollow, even to me. She doesn't respond right away, just looks at me, searching my face. There's a sadness in her eyes that I can't escape. It's the kind of sadness that only comes from realizing you're losing someone you love, but can't do anything to stop it. Liam, her voice cracks slightly, and I can see the tears welling up in her eyes. I don't know what's happening to us. I don't know where we went wrong. But I feel like I'm losing you. And I don't know how to fix it. I want to reach for her, to tell her that I'm here, that I'm still the man she married. But the words don't come. The guilt clogs my throat, the weight of my own actions suffocating me. I don't know either, I finally admit, my voice barely a whisper. I don't know what happened. For a moment, the room is silent again, except for the sound of her breathing in the quiet ticking of the clock on the wall. She looks down at her hands, her fingers curling into fists. I can tell she's holding back everything she wants to say, everything she's feeling. I think I need some time, she says softly, her voice barely audible. Time to figure out what we're doing. Time to figure out what we've become. The words hit me harder than I expected. Time. I've been running from it for so long, hiding from the reality of what I've done, what I'm doing. But time is the one thing I can't control, and the one thing I can't turn back. She needs space. She's already made up her mind, and now, it's my turn to face the consequences of my choices. She stands up, her face a mixture of sadness and resignation. I'll talk to you later, she says, her voice distant. And just like that, she's gone, out of the kitchen, back into the life I've been neglecting. I sit there, staring at my coffee, the steam rising in soft tendrils, but it does nothing to warm me. I feel cold. Empty. The guilt settles over me like a heavy blanket, suffocating me in its weight. I think of Alessandra. Her smile, her laughter, the way she makes me feel alive again. But even the thought of her doesn't make me feel whole. In the end, it's just another distraction, another attempt to fill the void that only seems to grow larger. I know this can't go on forever. I know I can't keep pretending that everything is fine when it isn't. But right now, all I can do is wait. Wait for the inevitable moment when Serafina will make a choice, one that may or may not include me. I don't know how long I've been standing in front of the mirror, but it feels like an eternity. The reflection staring back at me is a stranger, someone I barely recognize. There's no warmth in my eyes, no spark of the man I used to be. All I see is a man on the edge, teetering between a life that's slipping through his fingers and one that he doesn't know how to reclaim. I should have apologized. I should have told Serafina the truth about what I've been doing, about Alessandra. But instead, I'm standing here, pretending that nothing has changed, when everything is different. It's been a week since she asked for space. Since the moment I knew that I was about to lose her. And every day since, the silence between us has only grown louder. The house feels more like a prison with each passing day. We move around each other like ghosts, neither of us daring to speak the truth, afraid of what it might do to the fragile thread that's holding us together. The children seem unaware, blissfully ignorant of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. But I can't escape it. Every look, every moment of quiet, reminds me of the choices I've made, and the consequences that are coming. I pick up my phone, the screen lighting up with another message from Alessandra. I'm starting to wonder if I'm using her to fill the void Serafina has left in me. But then, just as quickly, I push the thought away. I don't have time to question myself now. I can't. We need to talk, the message from Alessandra reads. I run a hand through my hair, feeling the weight of the decision I've been avoiding. Every time I meet her, I feel the briefest relief, a moment of escape from the suffocating guilt that clings to me like a second skin. But I know that Alessandra is only a distraction. A temporary high. She can't fix what's broken inside of me. Still, I reply. I'll meet you tonight. I don't know if I'm looking for answers or just a way to keep running. But I can't stop myself. I know what's at stake, but the temptation is too strong, the need for attention too urgent. As I put my phone down, I hear the sound of footsteps approaching. Serafina. I turn to face her, and for the first time in days, our eyes meet. There's something different about her now. A quiet strength that wasn't there before. She's been holding it together, trying to keep the family intact, trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy, but I can see it in her eyes, she knows. You're meeting her again, aren't you? She says, her voice calm but tinged with something darker. It's not anger. Not yet. But there's a sharpness to her words that cuts through the silence like a blade. I feel my heart pound in my chest. I've been expecting this. I knew it was only a matter of time before she found out. But hearing the words spoken aloud feels like a weight I didn't know I was carrying suddenly crushing me. I don't know what you're talking about, I say, the lie slipping out of my mouth like second nature. But even I can hear the tremor in my voice. I'm not convincing anyone, not even myself. Don't lie to me, Liam, she replies, her voice low but steady. I can feel it. The distance. The coldness. You've been somewhere else for weeks. And I know it's not work. It's her, isn't it? I open my mouth to say something, anything, but the words don't come. There's nothing left to say. She already knows. The truth is staring me in the face, and for the first time, I can't look away. I'm sorry, I finally managed to say, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. I never meant for this to happen. I never meant to hurt you. Her eyes flash with something raw, hurt, betrayal, anger. And in that moment, I realize just how much I've taken her for granted. Just how much she's put up with, while I've been off seeking something that wasn't real. Sorry doesn't fix this, Liam, she says softly, her voice breaking. You've already made your choice. And I can't keep pretending that it doesn't hurt. The words hang in the air, a painful truth we both can't escape. I want to reach out to her, to take her hand, to tell her that I'll change, that I'll fix everything. But I know I can't. The damage has already been done. She stands there for a long moment, her gaze fixed on me, as if waiting for me to do something, anything, to make this right. But I can't. I've lost that chance. I need space, she finally says, her voice barely above a whisper. I need to think. To decide if I can even look at you the same way after all of this. The words sting, cutting deeper than any argument or accusation could. And just like that, she turns and walks away. I watch her go, the sound of her footsteps fading into the distance, leaving me alone with my choices. The meeting with Alessandra that night feels like a hollow victory. I go through the motions, trying to ignore the pit in my stomach, the nagging guilt that refuses to let me be. Alessandra is as charming as ever, as captivating as always. But tonight, it doesn't feel the same. I'm not here for her, I'm here because I can't face the reality of my own life. We have drinks, we talk, but the words are empty. The connection we share is fleeting. I find myself thinking about Serafina, wondering if it's already too late to make things right. When the night comes to an end, Alessandra leans in to kiss me, but I pull away at the last moment. I'm sorry, I say, my voice barely above a whisper. I can't do this anymore. She looks at me, her eyes searching for something, perhaps an explanation. But there's nothing left to say. I'm not the man I once was, not the man I thought I could be. I drive home in silence, the weight of everything pressing down on me. And when I walk through the door, I find the house still and empty. Serafina is gone. I woke up that morning with the weight of the world pressing down on my chest. I hadn't slept. Not really. I had tossed and turned through the night, the events of the last few days swirling in my mind like a storm I couldn't escape. Serafina had left. She hadn't said where she was going, only that she needed time. Time to think. Time to heal. But I knew what that meant. It wasn't just time for her, it was time for us. And the truth was, I wasn't sure if there was anything left worth saving. I hadn't seen her since the confrontation. She'd packed a bag and left the house in the middle of the night. Her absence is the loudest thing in the house now. The silence between us is suffocating, a constant reminder of the woman I betrayed, the life I destroyed. I had hoped that Alessandra's message, the one I received last night, would offer some reprieve. I miss you. Come back to me, Liam. I thought it might give me a brief escape from the reality of my situation. But I wasn't the same man anymore. I felt nothing when I read it, no excitement. No joy, no temptation. Only emptiness. I drag myself out of bed and make my way downstairs. The house is eerily quiet, the way it's been for the last few days. It's too quiet. Too still. I hear the soft chime of my phone on the kitchen counter, a reminder of the life I'm desperately trying to hold on to but no longer can. I pick it up and see her name, Alessandra, flashing across the screen. The text reads, "I'm waiting for you. When will you come?" I stare at it for a long moment. Part of me wants to reply, to say something to keep her at arm's length, to keep up the illusion that I can somehow still have both lives. But I know I can't. The facade has already crumbled. I leave the house, driving aimlessly, without a destination in mind. I need to clear my head. I need to think about what to do next. But no matter where I go, my mind keeps drifting back to Serafina, the way she looked at me when she said she needed space. The look in her eyes that I hadn't seen before. It was a look of finality, a look that told me she was done. She was ready to move on, even if I wasn't. I find myself pulling into the park where we used to walk on weekends, when everything was simple and we didn't have to worry about the things that now seem so insurmountable. It's strange how a place that once felt like home now feels foreign. Like an echo of a life I've lost. I sit in the car for a long time, staring at the trees, the playground in the distance, the place where we used to share quiet moments. And for the first time in a long while, I allow myself to feel it, the regret. The guilt. The crushing weight of what I've done. I've lost everything. I close my eyes, but all I can see are the faces of the two women I've hurt, the face of Serafina, so full of love and trust, and the face of Alessandra, who gave me the escape I was looking for, but never truly made me feel whole. Both of them deserve better than me. I think back to the times with Serafina, our first meeting, our wedding, the way she smiled at me when we found out we were having children. I think of all the promises I made. Forever, I said. Always, I promised. But forever is a lie, isn't it? Forever is a thing we tell ourselves when we want to believe we can escape the consequences of our actions. And now, there's no escaping the truth. I hear my phone vibrate in the passenger seat, and I reluctantly glance at it. A missed call from Serafina. I don't know what to do with this. I don't know if I should call her back, if I should apologize, if I should beg for forgiveness. But I know that whatever I say, it won't fix what's been broken. I can't undo what I've done. I drive back home, my thoughts clouded, my heart heavy. When I pull into the driveway, I notice her car is back. My heart skips a beat, and I feel a surge of hope, foolish, irrational hope. I get out of the car, my hands shaking. I walk toward the door, my thoughts racing. But when I open it, I find her sitting in the living room, her back to me. Her posture is stiff, her shoulders tense. Serafina, I say, my voice hoarse. She turns to face me, her expression unreadable. She's not angry. Not yet. But there's something in her eyes, a quiet resignation, as though she's made up her mind. I've thought about it, she says, her voice steady. I've thought about everything. I stand there, waiting for her to continue, my heart pounding in my chest. But when she speaks again, the words are not what I expected. I'm leaving, Liam. I can't do this anymore. The words hit me like a physical blow. The room feels like it's spinning, and for a moment, I can't breathe. My mouth goes dry, and I stumble forward, my legs weak. No. No, Serafina, I plead, my voice desperate. Please. Please don't leave me. I'll change. I'll fix this. I swear, I will. She shakes her head, her expression soft but resolute. It's too late for that, Liam. You've made your choice. And I can't stay in a marriage where I'm nothing but a second choice. I deserve more than that. The words cut through me like a knife. I feel the tears stinging my eyes, but I refuse to let them fall. I won't beg. I won't show her that she's broken me completely. I'll leave, she continues. I'm going to stay with my sister for a while. I need time to figure out what's next. For me. For the kids. And with that, she stands up, walking toward the door. I stand there, frozen, unable to move as she picks up her bag and heads out the door, leaving me standing in the ruins of the life I destroyed. I should have stopped her. I should have said something, anything. But I don't. As the door closes behind her, I collapse onto the couch, the reality of it all sinking in. I've lost her. I've lost everything that mattered.